All right, y'all, I need you to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to tell you is something that completely shifts how we need to be talking about SHEDEUR Sanders and this Browns quarterback room. I've been following SHEDEUR closely ever since he stepped into the national spotlight, and what I just learned, it's wild. I'm serious. This isn't a rumor. This isn't speculation. This came straight out of the mouth of someone who's been around the Cleveland Browns organization longer than some of these rookies have been alive. I'm talking about Tony Grossi. Yeah, that Tony Grossi. The man's been covering the Browns for over 30 years. He's seen it all. Every bad trade, every quarterback carousel, every rebuild that went nowhere. And just recently, he let something slip that honestly, it went under the radar. Mainstream. Media's not talking about it. Twitter's not even caught up yet. But if you care about SHEDEUR Sanders, and especially if you care about how the Browns are building this roster, this is the kind of thing that changes how you see the whole game. So here's how it all unfolded. Grossi was talking about this year's training camp and the quarterback situation, right? You've got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and SHEDEUR Sanders. 4 names, all different stories. But while everyone's obsessing over who's going to be QB1 or which veteran looks better in shorts, Grossi dropped this line that made me stop mid-scroll. He said, and I quote, "The rookie draft picks are always safe under Andrew Berry. He does not cut his rookie draft picks their first season." Let me say that again. Not some rookie picks. Not most. He said rookie draft picks are always safe. That's not just a philosophy. That's not, we like to give rookies a chance. That's a policy. That's an organizational commitment. If you were drafted by Andrew Berry, especially in this 2024 class, you're making the team. That's how they operate. So please, take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. And then Grossi made it even clearer. When asked about whether SHEDEUR Sanders and Dillon Gabriel would survive final cuts, would they make the 53-man roster, Grossi didn't dance around it. He didn't say, "We'll see how camp plays out." He flat out said they're making the roster. Period. That's massive. Because look, a lot of people have been looking at this quarterback room like it's just a regular pecking order. SHEDEUR's 4th string, right? Gabriel's 3rd. So the assumption is, well, they'll sit on the bench, maybe play some preseason snaps, then fade into the background. Nah. That's old school NFL thinking. That's 2002 mentality. But the Browns, they're not playing that game anymore. They're not even playing the same sport. They're playing chess, while the rest of the league is out here stuck playing Connect 4. Let's put this into perspective. In the last 2 years alone, just 2 seasons, the Browns have had 9 different quarterbacks start a game. 9. That's not an exaggeration. Last year alone, they ran through 4 different starters. The year before, 5. That's not just unusual. That's a full-on quarterback emergency. That tells you everything you need to know about how quickly the depth chart can change in Cleveland. So when people ask, is SHEDEUR gonna play? The better question is, how soon is he gonna play? Because the odds say someone's going down. History says the Browns will need to dip into their depth chart again. And when that happens, not if, but when, who are they going to turn to? Some aging veteran with 1 foot out the door, or a rookie they've got locked down for 4 full years? Let's talk about those veterans for a second. Joe Flacco is 40. Yeah, he's coming off a heroic stretch with the Browns last season. But even Grossi called him a physical freak, and still admitted he doesn't know how Flacco holds up for 17 games anymore. Then there's Kenny Pickett, a 1-year rental, not a long-term answer. These guys, they're placeholders. The Browns know it. The front office knows it. And deep down, I think even Flacco and Pickett know it too. Now let's shift focus to something that almost no one's talking about. That rookie contract. That 4-year deal that SHEDEUR signed. That's not just paper. That's leverage. That's control. That's the kind of contract that lets you shape a future around a young quarterback without committing millions of dollars in guarantees. While everybody's stressing about Watson's massive cap hit, which, by the way, is a ridiculous $36 million this year, the Browns went out and added 4 quarterbacks for a combined total of $7.5 million against the cap. That's roster management at its finest, and 2 of those 4, rookie deals. 4 years of control. That's not just depth, that's insurance. That's a future plan in disguise. But this story gets even more interesting when you hear what other insiders have been saying. T.J. Houshmandzadeh, former NFL wide receiver, went public with what he's been hearing from people around the league about SHEDEUR and the Browns. And while some people are out here trying to cool the hype down, I'm telling you, they're missing the real story. The real story is what's happening behind the scenes, the stuff the cameras don't catch. According to Yahoo Sports, Joe Flacco got visibly uncomfortable when asked about mentoring the young quarterbacks, including SHEDEUR. You know what that tells me? That tells me he doesn't see SHEDEUR as a student. He sees him as a threat, as competition, and that says more about SHEDEUR's presence than any media take ever could. But let's not ignore the controversy either. We've got to talk about the speeding tickets. Yeah, SHEDEUR got pulled over twice in a week. One of them was for driving over 100 mph. People freaked out. He's immature. He's reckless. I saw the headlines. But here's what Grossi said, and this is important. He said, look, if this were a 5th-round defensive tackle with a history of off-the-field problems, yeah, he might have been cut. But SHEDEUR? Clean slate. No drama in college, no locker room issues. This was a dumb mistake, not a pattern. And more importantly, SHEDEUR's not being protected because of his last name. He's being protected because of his potential. There's a huge difference. The Browns see something in him, and they're willing to weather a few bumps in the road to see where this thing can go. And here's the part that really got me. Grossi said that when it comes to SHEDEUR and Gabriel, there's no urgency to rush them, no desperation to throw them in too early. That kind of patience is rare, especially with 5th-round picks. Usually those guys are on a timer. One bad camp, one fumbled snap, and they're practice squad or worse. But the Browns, they're taking their time because they see something that's not just about right now. They see a long-term plan, and I'm hearing the same thing from people close to the locker room. The veterans in Cleveland, they're talking, and they're not just impressed by SHEDEUR's arm talent, they're impressed by his mind, his ability to pick up the playbook, his football IQ. That's not normal rookie stuff. That's rare, especially for a guy taken in the 5th round. Now, to cap this all off, this is something you really need to sit with. The Browns are reportedly already looking ahead to next year's draft. They've got 2 first-round picks, and yeah, they might take a quarterback. But let me ask you this. If they were just going to move on from SHEDEUR, why waste a 5th-round pick on him this year? Why keep 4 quarterbacks? Why guarantee him a roster spot? Why put him on a 4-year deal? You only do that if you believe you've got something real, something worth developing, something worth betting on. And after everything I've seen, everything I've read, everything I've heard from inside the building, I believe the Browns are betting on SHEDEUR Sanders. Quietly, strategically, patiently. But make no mistake, the investment is real. So don't buy the lazy narratives. Don't believe the noise about depth charts and draft status. Watch the moves, follow the money, listen to the language from inside the building. Because when the next quarterback injury happens, and with Cleveland, it will happen. The question won't be whether SHEDEUR Sanders gets his shot. The question will be, is the league ready for him when he does? So, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. And Deshaun Watson? I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. I think the front office already knows how that story ends. Whether it's injuries, regression, or just the chaos that surrounded him since he landed in Cleveland, it just feels like that chapter is winding down before it ever truly got started. That's just the truth no one wants to say out loud. So what do you do when you're staring at a quarterback room full of maybes, what-ifs, and ticking clocks? You build something smarter. You stop reaching for short-term fixes. You stop plugging holes with duct tape and start laying bricks for a foundation. And that's exactly what I believe the Browns are finally doing. They're quietly setting up a full-blown quarterback development pipeline, and at the center of it, SHEDEUR Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. Now think about that. Sit with it for a second. What better way is there to bring along a young quarterback than in a system where he doesn't have to be the savior right away? He doesn't have to come in and win the city over in week 1. He doesn't have to be perfect. Instead, he gets time. He gets to learn from seasoned veterans. He gets to sit, observe, and grow. And yeah, when the inevitable injuries hit, or when the veterans just run out of gas, he steps in. But by that point, he's ready. According to a report I saw on SI.com, SHEDEUR Sanders is already showing signs that he's on the path to take over as the Browns' starting quarterback. Not next week, not even necessarily this season, but soon. Like 2025 soon. And let me be clear, that's not just media hype. That's coming from the practice field. That's coming from people who are watching this kid throw the ball, run the offense, carry himself like a leader. The ones who know what an NFL quarterback is supposed to look like. Gross recently mentioned something that really caught my attention. He said the Browns are going back to what they do best under Kevin Stefanski. Pound the rock, get the tight ends involved, and run a heavy dose of play-action passing. Now for a rookie quarterback, that's heaven. That's the dream. That's a system built to help you succeed. And it's tailor-made for a guy like SHEDEUR Sanders, who already has the arm to execute those play-action throws, but just needs to speed up the processing and get used to NFL tempo. And here's where it gets real spicy for the folks who've been following SHEDEUR since Colorado. If you're a fan of prime time, if you believe in what Deion's been building with his sons, then this moment is huge. Because for once, Cleveland might actually be doing right by a young quarterback. They're not rushing him. They're not sacrificing his development on the altar of desperation. They're letting it breathe. They're letting him grow. Look, every time Cleveland has tried to fast-track a QB, it's blown up in their face. Every single